From our NewsNation headquarters in America's heartland, it's time for news for all America. It's Tuesday, August 13th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Nick Smith. New this morning, former President Donald Trump returns to X, formerly known as Twitter, talking with its owner and the world's richest man, Elon Musk. More than 1 million people listening after Musk says a cyber attack delayed the start. The two talking immigration, crime, the economy, and that attempted assassination.
If I hadn't turned my head, I would not be talking to you right now. We're going back to Butler, and we're going to go back in October.
Key moments from that discussion and the response from the Harris campaign. Today marks 1 month since the attempt on the former president's life, and now lawmakers are taking new steps in their investigation, what they're requesting from key agencies by the end of the week. And the nation's largest grocery chain under investigation. Senators worried that it could raise prices at any time based on how many shoppers are in the store and other factors. Is it happening where you live? And the impact those fluctuating prices could have on your grocery bill. And it appears a U.S. gymnast will not have her Olympic medal return. What a sports panel is saying about Jordan Childs. And how rapper Flavor Flav is stepping up with a one-of-a-kind award. Monday's highly anticipated conversation between Elon Musk and President Donald Trump making big headlines everywhere this morning, but technical issues nearly derailed the discussion's live stream on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter. The nearly 2-hour chat between Trump and the world's richest man started about 45 minutes late, thanks to some technical glitches. It was the second time in the 2024 campaign cycle for a major glitch, the first time with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis launching his campaign for the White House. NewsNation's Xavier Walton is live in Mar-a-Lago this morning. Xavier, Mr. Musk blaming a cyber attack for the glitches.
Hey, Nick, good morning. Yeah, Elon Musk blaming that 40-minute delay on a massive malware attack. Still, nonetheless, more than 1 million people tuning in live to this unprecedented conversation at a time when the race for the White House is really heating up.
Congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book.
It was a presidential-sized return on X, formerly known as Twitter, for the 45th president. Trump's campaign calling it the interview of the century.
If I hadn't turned my head, I would not be talking to you right now.
Trump and tech titan Elon Musk going unscripted, starting with last month's assassination attempt.
I knew immediately that it was a bullet. I knew immediately that it was at the ear.
It was after this moment Musk gave Trump his endorsement. A month later, the tech billionaire now giving the former president his platform with tens of millions of potential voters, discussing topics like border control.
We're going to have the largest deportation in history of this country, and we have no choice.
Trump also talking about his relationship with foreign leaders as well as other issues abroad before bringing back the conversation to American soil.
The thing that they really is making them angry is what Kamala and Biden have allowed to happen to the economy. It's a disaster with inflation. The inflation, it doesn't matter what you make. The inflation is eating you alive.
The European Union warning Musk about possibly amplifying harmful content with the interview. Still, the 45th president and the owner of X chatting live for roughly 2 hours.
This is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who just trying to make up their mind.
Harris's campaign responding to that 2-hour event, saying, in part, quote, Trump's entire campaign is in a service of people like Elon Musk and himself, self-obsessed rich guys who will sell out the middle class and who cannot run a live stream in the year 2024. Nick.
Xavier Walton live this morning in Mar-a-Lago. Xavier, thank you so much. Joining us now, NewsNation media contributor and founding editor of Mediaite, Colby Hall. Colby, good morning.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Colby, technical glitches aside, once things got started, what did we hear? What did we learn?
Well, I think we heard a pretty sort of convivial conversation between two like-minded people. Elon Musk has made clear that he's all in with former President Trump, and Trump, basically hit a lot of the same talking points that he's hit sort of over the last year at his rallies. I think what stood out to me was that, this was presented as sort of, or it seemed as though it was presented as something of as a reset. Trump went from being up in the polls somewhere up to 10 points to being even or even down a few points to Kamala Harris over the last 3 weeks. So this was, really hyped as, we heard the interview of the century. And there were 1 million people that were tuned in roughly to this, and I don't think that we heard anything new, right? I think what we heard was Elon Musk sort of expressing some sort of support and fealty to Trump. Trump did stay away from some of his traditional insults towards Kamala Harris, but most of his policy talking points were, it was nothing really new. There was no real news that came out of this. So, it was interesting. I do think the technical difficulties probably hurt a lot because, it was supposed to start right at 8 o'clock, and it took 40 minutes or so for them to get it going, and that probably didn't help. Also made Elon Musk sort of probably embarrassed that even though he claims it was an attack, a cyber attack, it's not clear that that's what happened. So I'm not sure that this is going to move the needle or change the dialogue in the way that the Trump campaign had hoped.
But Mr. Trump wasting no time going after Vice President Kamala Harris during the interview, saying this.
Third-rate, phony candidate. Don't forget, I beat Biden. He failed in the debate miserably. We cannot have her. She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden in a different.
Yeah.
Look, she hasn't done an interview since this whole scam started.
Colby, talk to me about how Mr. Trump sounded to you there in that bite, and also finding the right message on Vice President Harris when he's still talking about a lot of President Biden, who is no longer his opponent.
Well, I think it's clear that the Trump campaign and Donald Trump himself have struggled to find an attack approach that really lands with Kamala Harris. Meaning, and by the way, I think there's the attacks that he says really resonate with his base, but that's not what's at issue. Right? He needs to win over the persuadables, the centrists, and whether it's laughing Kamala or lying Kamala, now she's a fake, and this over the weekend he claimed that they were using AI to fake crowd sizes, which was easily debunked. I don't think anything of that landed. I did think Trump seemed happier. He wasn't like the angry guy that we sort of saw at the press conference, dealing with tough questions. There was a lot of people on Twitter, X, that noticed that he had a bit of a slur or lisp. Nothing like he was, sort of out of it or anything, but just that perhaps I don't know if it was the audio or where the mic was placed, but his S's sounded a little off, and there was a lot of people that made note of that. I don't think there's anything to that other than, haters are going to hate. But it's stunning to me that what unfolds over the next 24 hours as we process this, we'll see. But again, there was nothing really that stood out. What's more interesting to me is that this shows that Elon Musk is full on with the Trump campaign. And he's a guy that really sort of runs a very influential social media platform in the way that he wants. And so I think that's as much as interesting as anything else.
And the former president definitely has a large platform on X, and it looks as though at one point before he left, he had somewhere, 88 million followers on X, and, compared to the 7 million or so on Truth Social. Let's bring in NewsNation contributor Lindsey Granger and national political reporter for TheHill.com, Julia Manchester, to join this discussion. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Julia, I want to start with you. Former President Trump again warning how the border crisis is putting Americans at risk, and talked about the war, talked about how things are tough. Julia, is this something that is a winning message for Mr. Trump? And then, Lindsey, I'd love your response, too.
Well, I think it's certainly something Republicans have been pushing former President Trump to address over the past few weeks. Look, I think there's been some criticism from Democrats, but also Republicans, that ever since Kamala Harris became the presumptive and now official Democratic nominee, the president hasn't been able to stay focused and really strictly on message. He, has made headlines, a number of negative headlines, for a number of media appearances, including his appearance at the National Association of Black Journalists a few weeks ago, in which, there was quite a bit of backlash to, Trump's comments made at that event. So I think, you hear a lot of Republicans, including former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, really pushing the president publicly to stay laser focused on policy. And, to be fair, before Kamala Harris became the nominee, the Trump campaign did a much better job of keeping him disciplined, keeping him on message. So that seems to really have changed. I think he had had, somewhat of an improvement last night, focusing more on that policy, but we'll see if that continues. I mean, he still has a number of rallies coming up and such, so we'll see if Trump's able to stay on message.
Lindsay, last night in the conversation, Mr. Trump actually said 20 million people entered the U.S. having escaped prisons, mental institutions, and insane asylums. And we actually know that that's not true. That was a bit of an exaggeration when actually 57,000 illegal crossings in July, down from 250,000 in December.
Right. And I think you can see the difference, of the numbers that he's saying versus what actually is happening. But what Julia was saying is that the message needs to stick. So some of the one-liners are not landing as well with people, especially because now out of the two candidates, Trump does look like the older guy, and Kamala actually is the younger candidate that now has Gen Z paying attention. And so I don't think the one-liners calling her names are going to be as effective as they might have been against Biden. And so when you talk about how many migrants are crossing, that's a real issue because, like you said, 250,000 migrants was a high point. And ever since Biden has implemented some of his new strategy, which mimics a lot of what Trump said he was interested in doing, now you see that has heavily declined. And that is a talking point for some of the actual policy conversations that Kamala, I think, is going to be interesting watching them have on a debate stage. So I think his campaign is probably ideally wanting him to stay on some of those targets and talk about specifically how he differentiates from Kamala and maybe stays on track with things like immigration, which he's been very firm about since the first time he ran. But we have to watch it closely to see what his strategy is moving forward, since we know that staying on message is not always his strong suit.
What also is interesting, too, I want to get you all to react to this. Colby, Julia, then Lindsay. Former President Trump ripping Time Magazine's latest cover with Vice President Kamala Harris, saying she's getting a lot of free rides and a free press from the media. Do you see it that way, Colby?
Well, I think it's a legit point in that there's a sort of honeymoon period that's extended. And I think Kamala Harris' campaign has really benefited from timing here, and that, 10 days after the sort of brand new thing just arrived with her being the new candidate, she announced her VP and had like a week of news cycle that benefited that. And then we're going to head into the DNC. She has to do an interview and she has to take tough questions. So there's no question about that. However, why borrow trouble? She's going in the right direction. And if the biggest complaint about her campaign right now is that she's not taking questions, the Harris campaign will cut a check for that every day, because that means they're not talking about any potential gaffes or policy. I mean, she's putting out ad campaigns touting how she's tough on the border, which is stunning, given that she was at a significant role on the Harris-Biden campaign or the Biden-Harris administration that had record illegal immigrants. So, yeah, she's getting a pass by the media, absolutely.
Julia, a free ride, honeymoon period?
It's certainly a honeymoon period. Look, I would imagine that after the Democratic National Convention, time will run out and she will have to sit down with some mainstream down the line journalists at some point. But on that Time magazine cover, when I see that, I think a lot of it is emblematic of really sort of the unprecedented nature of her campaign. She was someone who was very much underestimated up until a few weeks ago. And she is, going back to 2016, she's the first woman since then to run. She's the first woman of color, to be on a major presidential ticket, leading that ticket. So I think when I see that cover, that's very emblematic. I mean, this is whether you like her or not, this is a historical candidacy. We're going into the DNC. We're certainly on that honeymoon period. But after the DNC, after Labor Day, I think we'll really start to see that period potentially end and her face a bit more pressure.
Lindsay, I've got less than 30 seconds.
Yeah, I actually think totally different than my two colleagues. I think seeing the Time magazine cover was jarring, understanding how much emphasis was put on Hillary and how much of a shock it was for a lot of people that she did not win the election. And I know that sometimes with Kamala, there is a lot of energy because the campaign completely changed. But I think that Time magazine maybe has moved a little bit too fast in this moment because we don't know what the next conversation looks like right after that September 10th debate.
Julia Manchester, Lindsey Granger, and Colby Hall, the perfect start to a Tuesday. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will not be on the ballot in New York after a state judge ruled he lied about his address on his nominating petition. The judge ruled that Kennedy used a sham address when he listed the address of a house in suburban New York where he rents a bedroom at his place of residence instead of his California home. Mr. Kennedy, who is registered to vote in New York, says he'll appeal that decision. And today marks 1 month since the assassination attempt on former President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. Since then, a special task force has been launched to do an investigation into how security was handled in the days and weeks leading up to that campaign rally. And now, a House committee is calling on government agencies to provide documents. NewsNation's Tom Dempsey joins us live from Capitol Hill with more. Tom, good morning. This investigating committee wants receipts.
Yeah, that's right. Good morning, Nick. Look, this morning marks 1 month exactly since that assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump, and now a special congressional task force formed in response to the shooting has made its first official act, requesting a briefing with some of the top investigators by the end of this week. In letters to the Department of Justice and Homeland Security, as well as the heads of the FBI and Secret Service, the two leaders of the task force make it clear the group will take charge in leading the Capitol Hill investigation, writing, quote, "The task force's requests for documents and information henceforth supersede all other requests from House committees and members," before calling on the departments to hand over all information and records already given to other committees. 13 lawmakers make up this task force, 7 of them Republicans, the other 6 Democrats. Both House Speaker Mike Johnson and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries played a role in forming the group back in July. And Representative Mike Kelly, whose district includes Butler, Pennsylvania, where the shooting occurred, will chair this task force. And in brief statements to NewsNation, both the Secret Service and Department of Homeland Security said they plan to cooperate with the special task force. This special task force will have subpoena power. And Nick, over the next few weeks and months, we could see some hearings in relation to that attempted assassination. And exactly by December 13th, exactly 4 months from today, Nick, the group plans to issue a final report with recommendations of how to prevent a similar situation from happening again.
And Tom, I know
Nick?
More steps are ahead, but where do things stand right now?
Well, look, part of this investigation by Capitol Hill members and lawmakers has involved, hearings with the Secret Service, in which the leader of the Secret Service has said that, the overall security planning for that Butler, Pennsylvania rally was a massive failure. But then also we saw Director Kimberly Cheadle, then Director Kimberly Cheadle, the subject of a hearing and testimony here on Capitol Hill. And lawmakers really pressed her for answers about the investigation. And a day after things got very heated during that hearing, she later resigned. Some leaders still believe other people involved in the event planning should be fired as well. And despite weeks of intense investigating, though, the motive of this shooting this morning, Nick, still remains unknown.
Tom
Nick?
Dempsey live in our nation's capital. Tom, thank you so much. Here are more of your headlines this Tuesday morning. Former President Trump's campaign claims it was hacked by the Iranian government, alleging interference in the 2024 election. Both the FBI and authorities in Virginia taking the allegations seriously, with Virginia officials now looking for a man in connection to a burglary at the Trump for President 2024 campaign office. And the FBI confirming Monday that it has launched an investigation into the hacking allegations. According to Microsoft, Iranian hackers sent a phishing email to a high-ranking official on a presidential campaign, though they did not specify which campaign had been targeted. Today, President Biden is traveling to New Orleans to promote a policy closest to his heart, one he and First Lady Jill Biden established more than 2 years ago, the Cancer Moonshot Initiative. Its goal is to reduce the cancer death rate in the U.S. by at least half and prevent more than 4 million cancer deaths by 2047. Today, the president and First Lady will announce up to $150 million in grants to develop technologies that allow surgeons to provide more successful tumor removal surgeries for people with cancer. And the college football season kicks off next week, and the Georgia Bulldogs are the top dog. Georgia sits atop the AP preseason rankings. They've won 42 of their last 44 games. Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, and Alabama round out the top 5. 75% of the teams who have made the college football playoff have been ranked in the top 8 of the AP preseason poll. Israel's military is on high alert for a possible imminent attack from Iran, which the U.S. warns could be significant. How Israel and leaders from around the world are preparing and trying to prevent a wider war in the Middle East. Plus, a Marine receives the highest service honors for his heroic actions in a tragic accident. We'll tell you all about it when we come back.
Getting a fresh deal at Subway has never been easier. Just buy any footlong in the app, get another free. The only hard part is telling Travis he doesn't get the second footlong.
Wait, seriously?
I got you next time, buddy. Order now in the Subway app.
Your shipping manager left to find themselves, leaving you lost. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
Not every decision you make will be as good as getting a Volkswagen at the Savvy VW Summer Sales Event. 2024 Volkswagen models cost less to maintain than Honda. Get 0.9% APR financing or a $3,500 customer bonus on a new 2024 Atlas or Atlas Cross Sport.
It ain't my dad's razor, Dad. Hey, watch it. It's from Gillette Labs. This green bar releases trapped hairs from my face.
Game changer.
While the Flex, this contours to it. So the 5 blades can get virtually every hair in one stroke. For the ultimate Gillette shaving experience.
The best a man can get
is Gillette Labs.
Car insurance is up 20% this year. So I went to the Experian Insurance Marketplace. They shopped my info with over 40 top providers. I saved $800. They'll even alert me if they find a better rate. And it's free.
Go to Experian.com/car.
My mental health was better, but uncontrollable movements called TD, tardive dyskinesia, started disrupting my day.
TD felt embarrassing. I felt like disconnecting. I asked my doctor about treating my TD and learned about Ingrezza.
Ingrezza is clinically proven for reducing TD. Most people saw results in just 2 weeks. People taking Ingrezza can stay on most mental health meds. #1 prescribed Ingrezza has simple dosing for TD. Always 1 pill once daily. Ingrezza can cause depression, suicidal thoughts, or actions in patients with Huntington's disease. Pay close attention to and call your doctor if you become depressed, have sudden changes in mood, behaviors, feelings, or have thoughts of suicide. Don't take Ingrezza if you're allergic to its ingredients. Ingrezza may cause serious side effects including angioedema, potential heart rhythm problems, and abnormal movements. Report fevers, stiff muscles, or problems thinking, as these may be life-threatening. Sleepiness is the most common side effect.
Take control by asking your doctor about Ingrezza.
Maya knows how quality care can bring out a smile. But it's been a few dog years since she was able to enjoy a smile of her own. Good thing Aspen Dental offers affordable, complete care all in one place. With flexible hours and weekend appointments. Plus 20% off treatment plans for everyone. Loving our patients unconditionally. It's one more way Aspen Dental is in your corner.
Come and get your love.
In a race like no other, at a convention like no other, trust a network like no other. NewsNation brings you the Democratic National Convention live in Chicago all next week. Every story, every angle, for every American, with balanced coverage from trusted journalists and all perspectives that you won't get anywhere else. The Democratic National Convention, live coverage all next week, only on NewsNation. News for all America.
A deadly wildfire in Greece is prompting evacuations in Athens. At least one person has died so far. Several neighborhoods in the Greek capital have been evacuated, along with numerous suburbs north of the city. More than 700 firefighters, including those from other countries, are trying to bring the fire under control as authorities report flames as high as 80 feet tall. And world leaders are urging Iran to stand down on a possible attack on Israel, which top U.S. officials warn could be significant. British and German leaders spoke to Iran's president on Monday, pushing for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas and expressing concern over a wider regional conflict in the Middle East. NewsNation's Alina Shirazi has the latest from Washington. Alina, this is a situation that people want to try and keep under control. What is the White House saying about the possible attack?
Exactly, Nick. Good morning. We know U.S. officials continue to closely watch the situation in the Middle East, and National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby warns reporters that an attack from Iran or its proxies like Hezbollah of Lebanon is increasingly looking likely, and it could even happen in the coming days ahead. But as you said, Nick, Israeli Defense Forces are in a state of high alert for the first time this month after Israel became aware Iran and Hezbollah are making some kind of preparations for an attack. The IDF declares Israel is ready. Quote, over the past few days, we have been monitoring our enemies and developments in the Middle East with an emphasis on Hezbollah as well as Iran. We take the declaration and statements of our enemies seriously. Therefore, we are prepared at peak readiness in offense and defense. But while there's no indication, Nick, that an attack is imminent, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is quickly mobilizing the missile-armed submarine, the USS Georgia, and fast-tracking the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier to the region, and a strong show of support, continued support for Israel.
Yeah, Nick. But Alina, with all of these preparations being made, has there been any movement on a possible ceasefire talk?
Yeah, Nick, that's the big question here. We know U.S. diplomats like CIA Director William Burns, he may head over to the region to ramp up those ceasefire talks, those continued conversations, while President Biden's top Middle East advisor is expected to go with other top European officials to Cairo. We know the president was on the phone yesterday with his counterparts in France, the UK, Germany, and Italy, asking them to reaffirm their commitment to Israel's defense and the need to get a ceasefire in place.
We fully expect talks to move forward, as they should. All negotiators should return to the table and bring this deal to conclusion. It is, in our view, time for Hamas to release the hostages.
And while there is a push for peace in the region, we know the U.S. will also continue to defend Israel, as I've mentioned. One Pentagon source we reached out to tells NewsNation, quote, we're doing everything we can to deter aggression, deter conflict, prevent this from becoming a wider war, while at the same time ensuring that we have the capabilities in the region to be able to protect our own forces should Israel be attacked.
Alina Shirazi live at the White House. Alina, thank you so much. Oil prices are jumping over those concerns about a larger war in the Middle East. On Monday, oil prices jumped 3%. Any attack by Iran would likely mean the U.S. would be placing new embargoes on Iranian oil exports, which could shrink by the global supply by 1.5 million barrels every single day. The DNC in Chicago is in less than a week away, and as tens of thousands of people descend on Chi-Town, we're talking to one local lawmaker about if the city is ready and how police are preparing for the massive crowds. And a bronze controversy, Jordan Childs is finding out how she won't be able to hold on to her medal, but one celebrity is stepping in to help her replace her hardware.
T-Mobile's 5G network connects 100,000 Delta employees so they can make every customer feel like they've arrived before they've left the ground. This is how business goes further with T-Mobile for Business.
Can Nariva support your brain health?
Mary, Janet, hey.
Eddie, no. Fraser, Frank.
Frank? Fred, how are you?
Fred.
Fuel up to 7 brain health indicators, including your memory. Join the Nariva Brain Health Challenge.
You know, you only get one body. It might be the perfect size to do this. Your body may take up a lot of space, or have to speak with its hands. But no matter what body you're born with, you only get one. Let's fight like hell for it.
Itch, itch, scratch, must not itch.
Stop the itch sanity with Cortisone 10 for bug bites, poison ivy, and other itches. Cortisone 10 is #1 doctor recommended. It works fast and lasts for hours. Cortisone 10.
Right now, pet dander, skin cells, mold spores, pollen, and dirt are being sucked into your air ducts. Get cleaner air and system efficiency now with Stanley Steamer. Your air ducts aren't clean until they're Stanley Steamer clean.
Stanley Steamer gets your home cleaner.
I won't let my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis symptoms define me.
Emerge as you. With Tremfya, most people saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months, and the majority stayed clearer at 5 years.
Serious allergic reactions may occur. Tremfya may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, or if you had a vaccine or plan to.
Emerge as you. Emerge Tremfyant. Ask your doctor about Tremfya.
We went with the website nuts.com because nuts and dried fruit and pretzels and trail mix and gummies and chocolate and espresso beans and malted milk balls and crackers and popcorn and sesame sticks and veggie chips and energy squares and fudge and jelly beans and seeds and rock candy and saltwater taffy and dried berries and fruit leather and bars and jerky and a whole lot more .com was already taken. Get 20% off and free shipping on your first order at nuts.com. Yes, we have more than nuts, but still the website is just nuts.com.
What if your body didn't have to hurt after being active? Introducing Stogo, the only apparel with adjustable medical-grade support designed to help you overcome injuries, minimize pain, and regain the confidence to get back out there. Stogo's supportive apparel is engineered with 90 feet of high-strength cables that reinforce the body and control dials that allow you to adjust the support. Stogo is trusted by professionals, world-class athletes, and weekend warriors who all want one thing: more activity and less pain. Learn more at Stogo.com.
Welcome back, 30 minutes after the hour. Here's a look at the top stories we're following this morning. A 2-hour interview between Elon Musk and President Trump making headlines this morning. More than 1 million people tuning in to listen to the pair discuss immigration, the economy, his opponent, and the attempted assassination on Mr. Trump, all after a 40-minute delay on the live stream. Today marks 1 month since a 20-year-old tried to assassinate former President Trump at a campaign and rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Now the Congressional Task Force formed in response has made its first official act. They are requesting a briefing with top investigators and all records already given to other committees. The FBI is now investigating Iranian hackers who targeted the Trump campaign, as well as the campaign of President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It comes as officials look for a suspect who broke into a Trump campaign office in Virginia. In both cases, officials did not elaborate on what was taken or what sort of access had been gained. Let's get to more morning headlines. A 4.4 magnitude earthquake rattled parts of Southern California Monday. Footage shows residents rushing to the nearest door frame, holding on tight for protection. Home cameras also captured just how rattling this earthquake was. Reports say the quake could be felt from West Los Angeles all the way down to San Diego County, about 3 hours away. Thankfully, there aren't any reports of major destruction. Mexico's president and prosecutors are weighing possible treason charges stemming from the arrest of drug lord El Mayo Zambada. Mexican officials are investigating after El Mayo said he was ambushed and kidnapped by Joaquin Guzman Lopez, the son of El Chapo, and brought to the U.S. against his will. Mexican law says someone could be charged with treason if they abduct a Mexican citizen and hand them over to foreign authorities. Both El Mayo and Guzman Lopez are charged with drug crimes and are both in U.S. custody. USA Gymnastics is vowing to appeal a Swiss tribunal after the Court of Arbitration for Sport said it will not reconsider its decision to strip Jordan Childs of her bronze medal. The court says U.S. gymnastics coaches were 4 seconds late in submitting an appeal to Childs' score on the floor exercise at the Olympics. Team USA says they have video proof that the appeal was within the time frame. In response, rapper Flavor Flav says he has Childs' back, getting this bronze clock necklace made for the Olympian, adding that it's something no one else has. You're looking live right now at Chicago, courtesy of EarthCam. We're less than 1 week away from the DNC when politicians, celebrities, and protesters will descend on the Windy City. Security will be tight around the United Center. Authorities will lock down the surrounding streets and will have delegates and visitors walk to the convention. Meanwhile, Chicago police expect more than 100,000 protesters across the city, largely calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. There are growing concerns and questions surrounding the security at the DNC and if there are enough resources for first responders. Joining me now to talk about it all is Alderman Anthony Napolitano. He's also spent time with Chicago's police and fire departments. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We're happy that you're here to help us break this down. What are some of the biggest changes Chicago police are making to ensure that enough officers are actually available to monitor the protests?
Yeah, they're working a lot of preparation, using as much preparation as possible and intelligence as they can get their hands on. And they're going to start eliminating or limiting the amount of officers in districts. So Chicago works in a 3-watch system. They'll go down to a 2-watch system in each district, and then they'll send a 3rd watch down to the convention to try to elevate the amount of officers in the area. Plus, they're going to bring some outside resources in as well. We're going to need as much help as we could possibly get. We're working with a skeleton crew of officers. We've lost so many over the years, we can't keep up with the rate of attrition that we're going to need as much help as we can in the city the upcoming week.
But Mr. Napolitano, you are familiar with both of these departments intimately. Friends of yours are still in service right now. Based on your experience, do you think Chicago is ready?
Chicago, as Chicago always steps up to the plate. When the bell rings, they always get up and answer and go at it with everything they got. Morale has been down on both police and fire. My firefighter brothers and sisters have been without a contract for over 3 years now. So, you're bringing on probably one of the most difficult times as history has shown in '68 and in other conventions throughout the country. You're going to drop that on a city that morale's down, manpower is down. But they're always going to step up, do their job. They're going to answer the call. They're going to do it to the best of their ability. But it's going to be pray for the best, but expect the worst to happen.
And you and I have lived in the city long enough to know that anytime you have an event like this, particularly one of this size, you're going to have residents complaining about delays and how packed the L system is and all that. What do you think that they can expect?
Oh, it's going to be shut down. You're going to see there's going to be a limited parking, limited travel routes. Everything convention-wise will be done through funnel points. So you'll see fencing that's gone up already. Your travel time is going to be changed completely. If you can work from home, work from home. If you can stay completely away from the area, I would do it, because you have to expect the protesting that's going to come with it too. So not only convention-wise, the celebration of the convention, it's the protesting and the unsafe area that comes with it as well. We expect that this is going to get a little bit out of hand.
Yeah, you talked about the protesting, but we don't want to see protesting like we did in 1968 when your father was actually still serving with the Chicago Police Department. Your brother was involved in the '96 convention. What can the department learn from veterans like them?
Just to change the way that you go at it. You have to take your past history and look at, we didn't have as much intelligence back then as we do now. A lot of these protesters and people that are coming here to loot and to riot and that are paid to come here to protest use a lot of the internet, and we're using that intelligence to get onto that, find out where they're going, to get ahead of these problems that they didn't have in '68 and in '96 as well. Our police department is incredible. I mean, the way that they react to situations and mitigate problems is top-notch, best in the country. So you have to use every tool you have, even though we're limited. We're in a defund the police city right now, so we're limited with what resources we have. But they're going to go at it with everything they got.
Alderman Napolitano, safe to say that if you're thinking of coming to Chicago causing trouble, think again.
Absolutely. Don't come here. Don't come here to cause trouble, because you're going to be met with resistance from the police department and our fire department. They're ready to go.
Alderman Anthony Napolitano, thank you so much for joining me this morning, sir.
Thanks for having me.
NewsNation special coverage of the DNC starts next week. Tune in Monday, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on NewsNation. The cartel is providing manuals on how to cross the border, but some question whether or not it's safe.
It's ridiculous to see. Look, they're providing instructions on how to do and continue to commit a crime.
The real dangers associated with this latest scheme, and if it's really worth the price.
Here we are driving down the road, and all of a sudden, bam! Oh! Look at that. You know what we can do now? Go to SafeLight.com. They are the experts at replacing and recalibrating windshields. If you get a crack in your windshield, there's only one choice. Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace.
Right now, pet dander, skin cells, and dirt are settling deep into your carpet fibers. Stanley Steamer removes the dirt you see and the dirt you don't. Your carpets aren't clean until they're Stanley Steamer clean.
Stanley Steamer gets your home cleaner.
Hi, I'm Greg. I live in Bloomington, Illinois. I'm not an actor. I'm just a regular person. Some people say, why should I take Prevagen? I don't have a problem with my memory. Memory loss is not something that occurs overnight. I started noticing subtle lapses in memory. I want people to know that Prevagen has worked for me. It's helped my memory. It's helped my cognitive qualities. Give it a try. I want it to help you just like it has helped me.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription.
It's Pod's biggest sale of the summer. Save up to 25% on moving and storage for a limited time. And see why Pods has been trusted with over 6 million moves. But don't wait. Use promo code BIG25 to save. Visit pods.com today.
My moderate to severe plaque psoriasis held me back. Now with Skyrizi, I'm all in with clearer skin.
Things are getting clearer. I feel free to bear my skin, yeah, that's all me. Nothing is everything. Whoa.
With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And most people were clearer even at 5 years. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, had a vaccine, or plan to.
Now's the time. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
If you have generalized myasthenia gravis, picture what life could look like with Vyvgart Hytrulo, a subcutaneous injection that takes about 30 to 90 seconds. For one thing, could it mean more time for you? Vyvgart Hytrulo can improve daily abilities and reduce muscle weakness with a treatment plan that's personalized to you. Do not use Vyvgart Hytrulo if you have a serious allergy to any of its ingredients. It can cause serious allergic reactions like trouble breathing and decrease in blood pressure leading to fainting and allergic reactions such as rashes, swelling under the skin, shortness of breath, and hives. The most common side effects are respiratory and urinary tract infections, headache, and injection site reactions. It may increase the risk of infusion-related reactions and infection. Tell your doctor if you have a history of infections or symptoms of an infection. Talk to your neurologist about Vyvgart Hytrulo for GMG and picture your life in motion.
An alternative to pills, Voltaren is a clinically proven arthritis pain relief gel which penetrates deep to target the source of pain with non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medicine directly at the source. Voltaren, the joy of movement.
He had no intention of leading us. I think he thought he could go in there and get the job done. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way.
That is a father still in pain, but he is definitely proud. The father of Marine Corporal Spencer Colliard describing his son's heroic efforts to rescue the pilots in an Osprey crash in Australia that killed 3 men last August. Corporal Colliard's family learned this week that he will receive the Navy's highest non-combat honor, the Navy and Marine Corps Medal. That for his actions. Now, Collier's family believed he died in the crash, but the military only recently revealed that the 21-year-old actually died after going back to the aircraft to try and rescue the pilots trapped inside. Concerns are rising over a new way immigrants are being encouraged to cross the border. Migrants are now jumping onto moving trains in order to get into the United States, sometimes even from train to train. And smugglers, well, they are showing them how to do it. NewsNation's Allie Bradley has the details.
Border Patrol agents down here at the southern border alerted to a new TTP, which is Tactics, Techniques, and Procedures, in a new situational awareness memo that we were able to obtain. Now, in this memo, it actually gives illegal immigrants the exact instructions of how to jump on these trains and jump off of these trains in the United States to avoid detection. The criminal organizations, we're talking about the cartel, they're even providing safety equipment and instructional videos on how to jump off these trains in a, quote, safer manner to avoid injury. We want to show you one of these images in the memos. Now, the man is wearing what appears to be motorcycle gear from head to toe. You can see he's wearing a helmet and a rash guard and some kind of vest to protect him as well. The other image shows a man with a mask over his face next to a stepladder explaining how to dismount from the moving train safely. Agents say it's important that the people buying the dream from the cartel are convinced it is possible to jump from a moving train at a high rate of speed safely, evade law enforcement, and then slip into the U.S. undetected. It has nothing to do with keeping people safe, but rather the cartel's latest money-making technique, while also distracting Border Patrol agents.
They care that, hey, they don't want people falling off this train because you're going to eventually lose money. Or at the same time, you're going to have people say, hey, it's not safe to do it that way. We want to do it some other way. So they want to say, hey, look, it's safe to do it this way. We're going to continue doing it this way. We're going to provide all this. But it just comes down to this. I mean, it shows that the human smugglers, the cartels, they're the ones first and foremost in power. They're the ones that, can do whatever they want. And at the same time, just it's ridiculous to see. Look, they're providing instructions on how to do and continue to commit a crime because they realize that no one's going to do anything about it. No one's going to stop them. There's zero consequences for them doing this.
Agents I talk with say the more you pay, the better the cartel is going to set you up for success. It's a daily occurrence along the southern border, and the injuries or dangers that come along with hopping on these trains to evade are obviously present and real, and yes, fairly common. Thousands of migrants hop on La Bestia, also known as the train of death, in southern Mexico to get to the southern border quicker. But it's obviously not a safe route. Stateside, several incidents where migrants have been locked inside train cars. In Laredo, 23 migrants were found stashed inside there. Days later, 20 others trying to sneak in were discovered on board a train. Law enforcement saying the tactic is extremely dangerous as migrants are generally locked inside without any way to escape, and temperatures have been in the triple digits. Border Patrol has reported several incidents where migrants have been hurt, which includes having limbs amputated by the train, or they have been killed attempting to take this route. Now out near Corpus Christi, sheriff's deputies in Refugio County are searching for 25 illegal immigrants who actually jumped on a train there. They're saying those individuals still haven't been caught. They believe that they jumped off of that train and then evaded off into the brush somehow.
That was Allie Bradley reporting. Meanwhile, Kroger is facing a congressional probe. Ahead, why two senators are worried about digital price tags and how they can be used to jack up the cost of your groceries. And today we honor late director and movie producer Alfred Hitchcock, who was born on this day back in 1899. He's widely known as one of the most influential figures in the history of cinema. But what was Hitchcock's greatest fear? Oh, this is a good one, you guys. Was it nyctophobia, herpetophobia, ovophobia, or brontophobia? The answer when we return.
At the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's, this is why we walk. They're why we walk. We walk in the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's because we're getting closer to beating this disease. Join us.
Still have symptoms from moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease after a TNF blocker like Humira or Remicade? Put them in check with Rinvoq. Rinvoq works differently and it's a once daily pill.
When symptoms tried to take control, I got rapid relief with Rinvoq. Check.
When flares tried to slow me down, I got lasting steroid-free remission with Rinvoq. Check.
And when my doctor saw damage, Rinvoq helped visibly reduce damage of the intestinal lining. Check.
Rapid symptom relief, lasting steroid-free remission.
And visibly reduced damage. Check, check, and check.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB, serious infections and blood clots, some fatal, cancers including lymphoma and skin, heart attack, stroke, and GI tears occurred. People 50 and older with a heart disease risk factor have an increased risk of death. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Put UC and Crohn's in check and keep them there with Rinvoq.
Ask your gastroenterologist about Rinvoq and learn how AbbVie can help you save.
So what are you thinking?
I'm thinking about our honeymoon. What about Africa? Safari. Hot air balloon ride. Swim with elephants. Wait, can we afford a safari?
Great question. Like everything, takes a little planning.
Or put the money towards a down payment.
On a ranch.
In Montana.
With horses.
Let's take a look at those scenarios.
JP Morgan Wealth Management has advisors in Chase branches and tools like Wealth Plan to help keep you on track. When you're planning for it all, the answer is JP Morgan Wealth Management.
The virus that causes shingles is sleeping in 99% of people over 50. It's lying dormant, waiting, and could reactivate. Shingles strikes as a painful, blistering rash that can last for weeks, and it could wake at any time. Think you are not at risk for shingles? It's time to wake up because shingles could wake up in you. If you're over 50, talk to your doctor or pharmacist about shingles prevention.
At Fisher Investments, we may look like other money managers, but we're different.
You can't be that different.
We are. We have a team of specialists not only in investing, but also in financial and estate planning and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, and as a fiduciary, we always put their interests first.
But you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, we have a simple management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Huh, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
When pain freezes you in your tracks, Vapo frees your pain away. Penetrating pain relief with Vicks Vapors. Vapo frees your pain away. Now at Walmart.
We went with the website nuts.com because nuts and dried fruit and pretzels and trail mix and gummies and chocolate and espresso beans and malted milk balls and crackers and popcorn and sesame sticks and veggie chips and energy squares and fudge and jelly beans and seeds and rock candy and saltwater taffy and dried berries and fruit leather and bars and jerky and a whole lot more .com was already taken. Get 20% off and free shipping on your first order at nuts.com. Yes, we have more than nuts, but still the website is just nuts.com.
What if your body didn't have to hurt after being active? Introducing Stogo, the only apparel with adjustable medical-grade support designed to help you overcome injuries, minimize pain, and regain the confidence to get back out there. Stogo's supportive apparel is engineered with 90 feet of high-strength cables that reinforce the body and control dials that allow you to adjust the support. Stogo is trusted by professionals, world-class athletes, and weekend warriors who all want one thing: more activity and less pain. Learn more at Stogo.com.
All right, welcome back. One of the greatest directors of all time, Alfred Hitchcock, was born on this day back in 1899. So before the break, I asked you at home, what was his greatest fear? If you answered C, ovophobia, fear of eggs, you were correct. Get this. Hitchcock had a tremendous fear of eggs. They revolted him, so much so, he specifically said he hated the way the yolk would break and spill out of the shell, and for that reason, he never tasted the yolk in his life. Ooh, Alfred, you missed out on some good old scrambled eggs, brother. Kroger, the largest grocery store chain in the country, is facing questions for using electronic price tags and the potential to change prices on a whim. Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bob Casey, both soon up for re-election, just sent a letter to Kroger about their practices. The concern is that Kroger could be using the technology to create price surges when shopping is at its busiest. Kelsey Kernstein joins us live outside of Mariano's, a Kroger subsidiary. Kelsey, in the interest of full disclosure, I love that chicken from Mariano's. Please tell me they're not taking advantage of shoppers like you and me.
Hey there, Nick. Yeah, I definitely love the chicken from Mariano's as well, but I'll tell you, this could really have shoppers, consumers, it could have them riled up because these electronic shelving labels, they're digital. They can be changed by just the push of a button. So basically what senators are saying is they're concerned that companies, specifically Kroger and its many subsidiaries, including Ralph's, Fred Meyer's, King Soopers, are exploiting shoppers. Now, Kroger started using these labels back in 2018 and quickly expanded it to 500 stores last year. They said it saves employees time. But then you've got senators like Elizabeth Warren and Bob Casey sending Kroger's CEO this letter, which reads, widespread adoption of digital price tags appears poised to enable large grocery stores to squeeze consumers to increase profits. Now, they cite that analysts' predictions that this could lead to dynamic pricing, which this is essentially what we see with hotels, airline tickets, rideshare companies, where the demand goes up, then the prices go up. Nick?
Kelsey, so is this like similar to like ride-sharing services like Uber? And what is Kroger actually saying about this controversy?
Yeah, so we've reached out to Kroger, and they essentially say that they're trying to keep the prices down as much as they can because that then brings them more consumers to their stores. We reached out to them, and this is what they wrote us in a statement, reading, consumers are shopping more with Kroger now than ever because we are fighting inflation. Adding any test of electronic shelf tag is to lower prices more for customers where it matters the most. To suggest otherwise is not true. earlier this year, we do know that the Federal Trade Commission did look into this and looked into any sort of price gouging with Kroger. They could not find any definite proof. And we can also tell you, and this is important to remember, that a free market does exist. Kroger can increase their prices however they want to, but they cannot conspire with other suppliers. Nick?
Kelsey Kernstein live for us this morning. Kelsey, thank you so much. Former Minnesota governor and wrestling legend Jesse Ventura says putting a woman in the Oval Office is long overdue.
My selfish reason is this. I don't want to die and not see a woman president. And I think this is the opportunity for one to get the job.
Hear what he told NewsNation about Kamala Harris's policies and the issues he has with President Trump's campaign.
Right now, pet dander, skin cells, mold spores, pollen, and dirt are being sucked into your air ducts. Get cleaner air and system efficiency now with Stanley Steamer. Your air ducts aren't clean until they're Stanley Steamer clean.
Stanley Steamer gets your home cleaner.
Got a little serious for a moment. Well, okay.
What's with the what? What?
Why do some things have to be so complicated? We don't know either, Stanley. But at least when it comes to dental care, Aspen Dental makes getting new dentures and implants easier with the technology and expertise to give you the right fit. And $0 down plus 0% interest if paid in full in 18 months. Making things as simple as they should be. It's one more way Aspen Dental is in your corner.
Cologuard? Cologuard.
Cologuard.
Screen for colon cancer.
At home, like you want.
You the man.
Cologuard is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk. False positive and negative results may occur. Ask your provider for Cologuard.
I did it my way.
At the Jeep Make This the Summer event, you can take a vacation from payments on the most capable Wrangler ever. Our most affordable SUV, Jeep Compass. The only open-air pickup, Jeep Gladiator. And the most awarded SUV ever, Jeep Grand Cherokee. Hurry into your Jeep brand dealer and make the most out of summer with great deals plus no payments for 90 days.
During the Jeep Make This the Summer event, get $5,000 bonus cash allowance or get 0% financing on 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee Overland and Summit models.
My mental health was better, but uncontrollable movements called TD, tardive dyskinesia, started disrupting my day.
TD felt embarrassing. I felt like disconnecting. I asked my doctor about treating my TD and learned about Ingrezza.
Ingrezza is clinically proven for reducing TD. Most people saw results in just 2 weeks. People taking Ingrezza can stay on most mental health meds. #1 prescribed Ingrezza has simple dosing for TD. Always one pill once daily. Ingrezza can cause depression, suicidal thoughts, or actions in patients with Huntington's disease. Pay close attention to and call your doctor if you become depressed, have sudden changes in mood, behaviors, feelings, or have thoughts of suicide. Don't take Ingrezza if you're allergic to its ingredients. Ingrezza may cause serious side effects including angioedema, potential heart rhythm problems, and abnormal movements. Report fevers, stiff muscles, or problems thinking, as these may be life-threatening. Sleepiness is the most common side effect.
Take control by asking your doctor about Ingrezza.
What the biggest companies deliver is exceptional customer experience. What makes it possible is unmatched connectivity and 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business. T-Mobile connects 100,000 Delta Airlines employees, powers Tractor Supply stores nationwide with reliable 5G business internet, and helps Red Bull revolutionize coverage of live events. This is how business goes further with T-Mobile for Business.
Professional wrestling legend and former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura throwing his support behind Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, another Minnesota governor, Tim Walz. Mr. Ventura told NewsNation's Dan Abrams that a woman in the Oval Office is highly long overdue.
I'm 73 years old, so when you look, there's only one election every 4 years now. So I don't know how many more I'm going to see in my lifetime. I had the good fortune of seeing our first Black American president, seeing him get elected, President Obama, and reelected. Now My selfish reason is this. I don't want to die and not see a woman president. And I think this is the opportunity for one to get the job. I think it's highly long overdue. If you look at how voting came about in America, white men could always vote. Then black men were included, or black people, and then finally women. So if you go in that category, women deserve the opportunity now to be the commander-in-chief and to lead this country. After all, us men have screwed it up enough, haven't we?
So to be clear, though, you're not basing it on policies, you're just basing it on gender?
No, I'm basing it also on policy. I believe in a woman's right to make her own decisions about her health care. I'm hugely involved in support of that. I also support the Constitution of the United States of America. And when I see a party that attacked the Constitution, injured 141 police officers, they allowed a Confederate flag to be run through my Capitol, and no one's ever apologized for it. And now they're giving me a presidential candidate who's a convicted sexual abuser. He's a convicted felon, and he's also a draft dodger from my war, the era of Vietnam. He's a rich white boy who got out of the draft because he's rich and white.
Be sure to watch Abrams live tonight and every weeknight starting at 9, 8.